So, John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic, and you obviously have a heck of a fight coming up, March 31st. Aaron Jeffery. Um, I wanted to start there. He's kind of a young up and comer. How are you viewing this matchup?
Yeah, he is kind of, but he's proved himself. I feel like he's got some big wins, and I think he's kind of where I was around that time, where he's got a lot to prove, but he's already showed that he's deserves to be here.
When you look at this kind of matchup, and obviously you're a guy who fought for the title, you're coming off a couple of losses, getting probably closer towards the end of your career, and he's the up and comer. Do you see this as the promotion is kind of putting you in there as a test for him? And, does that bother you at all, or is that just the nature of the sport?
No, I think that's the nature of the sport. That's how I came up. I had a lot of the same things. And this is how you prove yourself in the sport. This is how I prove if I'm still that guy, and he proves if he's going to be that guy.
When you look at the last couple of fights that you have, I mean, you fought Eblen and you fought Musashi, I believe. When you look at those, what do you take away from those? Because you're not losing to anything but the top guys. And what did you learn from those experiences?
It's just kind of interesting to see you got a guy like Masasi that he's been the best for a long time because he's so calculated. And then you got a guy like Eblen who's coming out there and taking over by just staying in your face and doing everything, throwing everything with such power that most people can't continue that for the time he can. So um, very interesting how there's two very different fighters that are both some of the best in the world.
Does it kind of tell you something about yourself too? That I mean, you have only lost two champions when it comes to Bellator. You've lost to Rafael Lovato and you've lost to Johnny Eblen. Those guys are both guys who held the belt. You are right there. Does that kind of tell you, hey, one more step and that can be me?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's I guess it's a positive and it's a negative. I've lost three champs, but being right there with them in those fights, it's just it's a like I said, it's the nature of the sport. We talked about that before, but it sucks. But at least I'm not losing the guys that are chumps.
Now, one thing about this is kind of your return after a year away. What's kept you away from the fight game? Was it a matter of you wanted to fight and there was just nothing available? Were you dealing with some injuries?
Yeah, I dealt with some injuries over the summer where it kind of limited. I was still able to train, but it limited me a lot, and it lasted quite a while. But I'm healthy now, no issues.
Well, that is fantastic to hear. And I mean, you're a veteran both in MMA and on the grappling side. I don't think you're going to show up and not look in good shape. But is ring rust a concern at all at this point?
No, not really. I mean, I'm still sparring with some of the best guys out there. And so I'm used to seeing punches coming from Chris Weidman, Chris Honeycutt, Jamie Pickett, a lot of these guys that are fighting at high levels. So, if I'm used to that and I'm comfortable with that, I don't think it's going to feel any different out there.
And I mentioned the grappling side there just a moment ago. Obviously, you've had some big wins in the grappling side of things. You did the ADCC, I think West Coast in 2017. In 2021, I think you did the East Coast. I might be wrong on that. But just staying active in that realm, how much has that helped your MMA career?
I think it's helped a lot, especially I think in 2017, I proved myself as one of the best guys in the world in jiu-jitsu. So I think it got me some recognition and got some respect for my grappling ability. But it's just something that's a little bit different. It's a good time. Go do it with friends, and I always say every fight is life changing one way or the other. But it's kind of nice. Jiu-jitsu is not always that way. I can lose a match in jiu-jitsu or win a match, and it doesn't really change my life, and that's kind of nice because it's less pressure.
Well, it's good to hear, and obviously you've got the accolades there. Is that somewhere where you're looking to test Aaron Jeffrey?
I mean, I'm sure that we're going to end up on the ground. I'm not looking to go out there and just try to put him on the ground right away. We're going to, start the fight on the feet. That's where we're going to test each other there, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, looking forward to it. Looks to be a fantastic fight. What is your take on the champion in the division now, Johnny Eblen? Obviously, you have fought him, and I would expect the goal is to get back and get another crack at him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you always like to get your losses back, so I'd like that. But I guess that's probably it in the answer that people would expect. But I'd kind of like to see him fight Costello Van Steenis. I really think that's an interesting fight. I'd like to see how that would go.
What makes that an interesting matchup for you with Van Steenis?
Um, Van Steenis is so explosive, and he can hit you from so far away that, and he's got so much power, you can't walk him down. So, I mean, I could be wrong. He's very explosive off the ground too, hard to hold down. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Eblen goes out there and puts him right on his back and holds him down. But I think Van Steenis has all the tools to make that a very interesting fight. And I know Eblen's not going to back off of anybody. So I think that'd be fun to watch.
Well, that I agree there. It's interesting though, because like you said, it's not the answer a lot of people would expect. What's kind of your goal for 2023 then? I mean, let's say you get the win here. Are you hoping to fight two, three more times this year after the time off last year?
Right now, my goal is just to beat Aaron Jeffery. So we'll get past this fight. We'll sit down and see what looks right, and we'll go from there. But right now, I'm just focused on this one fight.
Gotcha. And I wanted to ask you a kind of little bit of a left field question. We saw an old opponent of yours, Rafael Lovato Jr., come back in late December out of retirement and get a win. Did you catch that? What did you think of the performance?
I didn't see the fight. I saw that he won, and I mean, he's one of the greatest Americans of all time in jiu-jitsu. So anytime he steps in the ring, it takes a special person to just survive around with him. So I expected when I saw he's coming back for him to get the win.
Well, like you said, you proved yourself in jiu-jitsu, especially in 2017 with that gold. You fought in MMA. Would you be interested in a grappling match with him?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that. I think that'd be a good time, and it's a guy that I really respect and really like. And I'd love to get something like that lined up.
Well, that would be very cool as well. I know you said you don't want to look past Aaron Jeffery when I asked you about the rest of the year. You're 37, if I'm not mistaken, now, and that's getting kind of towards the end of a run. How far do you see yourself continuing on in the sport long term? I mean, do you think you'll go into your 40s? Is it something that you've ever put a timeline on, like I'm going to stop at this date, or is it just how your body feels?
No, I mean, luckily, I'm at a point in my life where my wife and I can kind of sit down and just discuss after every fight where we're going. And, whenever it's time to stop, will be the right time that, I'm not going to walk away from the sport going, man, the sport quit me. I couldn't make it. I think I made it to a point now where I can be happy whenever we make that decision.
Good stuff. And I know you do some coaching as well. Would that be the future plan when your active competition is done?
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy that, and give me a chance to live vicariously through some of the other guys here.
How important and how beneficial is it to your fight game, to you being in the cage? Is that coaching? Does it kind of allow you to see things in training other guys that you can then take and apply to yourself?
I guess a little bit of that, but the main thing is just staying with a competitive mindset all the time. That helps a lot.
Good stuff. And I'll ask you one more actually two more before I let you go. As a coach, you've obviously got some up and comers in the gym or whatever. Who do you see that you've been working with who you think is going to go far in the sport?
Well, I mean, I think the easy answer is Joe Selecki. I mean, he's already doing it. But I think that's a guy that's going to be top five. I always say top five versus champ because it kind of depends on what side of the bed you wake up on then. But I think he'll be a top five guy for sure.
And Joe's definitely getting it done in the UFC these days. Last one for you, John, and I appreciate the time today. Aaron Jeffery, March 31st, Bellator 293. How do you see this fight playing out? Do you have a prediction?
I mean, we're both finishers, so I think we're going to go after each other. Both of us want to get out of there as quickly as possible, but he's not a guy that's going to lay down. I don't think there's any quit in him, so I got to expect that we're going to be there for 15 minutes fighting each other as hard as we can.
Well, looking forward to it. John Salter, best of luck on the 31st. Thanks very much for the time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You have a good one.
You too.